Hello everyone, my name is Orlin Vasilev and I'm the community manager for Harbor. In today's session, I want to show you how you can set up two instances of Harbor. For that, I'm going to use GCP and I'm going to set up two of the smallest instances possible. Then we're going to install Harbor version 2.5 on instance 1 and instance 2. Then we're going to create a replication rule from instance 1 to instance 2. And then we're going to push an image to instance 1. Then we're going to sign that image in instance 1 via Cosign. And then we're going to trigger the replication rule so we can see how the image and the replication and the signature will be transferred to instance 2. And then we're going to verify the signature on instance 2 and instance 1 and see that they're the same. So practically you can use that model to promote your images from staging to production and to keep the signature the same. All right, so as a first step, I'm going to show you the two instances in GCP. So we have the smallest possible instances in GCP, and those are both are internet facing, so I can access them through HTTP, HTTPS, and SSH. All right, as a first step, we're gonna go to the Harbor releases, and we're gonna install the latest one, 2.5. We're gonna grab the offline installer for that demo. Then we're gonna navigate to one of our machines, and that's the Harbor 1 instance. I'm with root right now, and I'm gonna get the archive. Once downloaded, I'm gonna unarchive that installer. And then once we have it in the Harbor directory, we can navigate to that directory and see what's inside. So we have few stuff inside the actual binaries. We have the template file for the configuration. We have the install script. To make it a bit easier, I have pre-prepared the template file. So I'm just gonna copy that. And we can do a very simple diff between both of the files, so we can see what we have changed. So if we go on top, there are a few things that I've changed. Are the file, the path to the SSL certificate, the host name, which in my case is harbor1.org.org. Then I have specified the data volume, which I'm going to use, and then I have the logs somewhere down there to be in root h logs. So with that, I can run the installer, and that will set up Harbor for me. So let's search for this one, install, and for the purposes of this demo, I was playing around, and I can install it even with the notary, which we want to use, but we want to see the options for selecting the enforcement policy, and I want to have a trivia. Okay, the process of installation is ready, but I didn't show you one very crucial step in my setup, at least, is to actually have a valid SSL certificate. For the demo purposes, I'm using Let's Encrypt. Is the easiest and cheap way to have a valid SSL certificate. So you can go and navigate to Let's Encrypt.org, getting started, and then you have a few options. If you don't have access to the machine, or if you have one, in my case, I have one. So there are very extensive steps how to use Let's Encrypt, but in general, you need to install something called certbot, and those are the steps how to do that. So you have to select what you're going to use that certificate for, Apache, Nginx, you name it, everything. I'm going to select other because I'm going to insert that certificate into the Nginx for hardware. And then I'm going to select, for example, Debian 10. And that's the default one. And you have an option to request a wildcard certificate. So for the installation, you need the Snap Packet Manager. So you have to SSH to the server. Then you have to install snapd. There are all the steps very well documented. So at the end, when you follow all these steps, practically, in our case, we don't have still running hardware. So we can do the web root, for example, or standalone. It will ask you a few questions, your email address, the host name, of course, that you want to have a certificate for, and then it's gonna produce the certificate, and it's gonna set up cron tab for you. So once that certificate, because there are short-lived certificates, to reinitiate the process and get you a new one. And at the end, what you're gonna end up with is let's encrypt. So you have in the keys, you have the certbot key, and then if we go back to harbor and get harbor encrypt for let's, those are the two files that you're interested in, and they'll be printed out in the end of the process of requesting the certificate. So you have to just replace them in your harbor.yaml file and then run the installation. Okay, we have our harbor installed, and I'm on the homepage for this one. So harbor1.org. So we can log in with our default user and password. So that's admin and then capital harbor 12345. Harbor 12345. Okay, so it's empty, very clean installation. So as a first step, I want to create a user. So we go on user, new user, and I want my user to be called Cosign demo. Email address will be cosign.com. Last name and full name, we don't need this one, and the password. You need to specify a strong password for this one. So now I have the user. As the next step to set up the demo, I need a project. So that project will be called Cosign demo. I want that to be public, for example. So no quota limits. Okay, so we have the project. Members, no members. So we go on users and we want to search for Cosign demo. And that user, I want to be, for example, a maintainer. Okay, as a next step, I want to show you the new feature in 2.5, which is the Cosign. And we have also Notary, just to have the two options over here. So that means if I say this one, that means all images from that repository that are not signed won't be accessible to be replicated, for example, or to be deployed, which means won't be able to download them. So I'm gonna save that setting. And as the next step, I want to go on the Harbor 2 instance, which happens to be in the same region, so same speed. And as you can see, I have some stuff that I want to delete, and I want to show you from the beginning. So on this one, we don't have users. I'm going to create the new project called Cosign demo. Again, I want to say it that it's going to be public. Same thing. I want to say that I want to have deployment security and only Cosign images to be able to be downloaded from it. So I want to set up a robot account, which will allow me my Harbor 1 instance to communicate with my Harbor 2 instance. So when something comes in Harbor 1 instance, or I want to trigger replication rule, I can do that from Harbor 1, for example. So new robot account, and I'm going to call it Cosign, for example. Expiration day, no, I don't want to have expiration days. And yeah, I want to be able to do everything with that. So I'm going to click add, and my robot account will be robot Cosign demo Cosign. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to copy the secret. I'm going to export the secret so I can have a legit backup for them. With that, our setup on the Harbor 2 instance is done, and we can navigate to Harbor 1 instance and set up the replication. To do that, first I need to set up a new registry, so a new endpoint. My provider will be Harbor. That's the name of the endpoint, so that will be Harbor 2, for example. Then the URL will be https harbor2 org, and the secret ID, that's the robot account name. So I'm gonna paste that here and then copy that and paste that here. Test the connection. Good. I can talk to the other instance. So okay. As the next step, I want to set up replication. So we go on replications, new replication rule, and that will be called manual h1 h2, for example, and that will be push based. For example, replication mode, that means I'm going to push images from one instance to the other instance. Then I can see what I can replicate. So my project was Cosign demo, and I want to replicate everything from there. So that will match everything. Then destination registry will be our Harbor 2 instance, and the trigger mode is manual. So everything else stays as it is. We're gonna click save and we project. So with this one, I have everything set up in place right now, so we can start pushing images. So we have the replication rule. We can click replicate, and that should succeed because we don't have anything right now in our registry. So as a next step, we're gonna push images to Harbor 1 instance, and then we're gonna sign those images in Harbor 1 instance, and then we're gonna run the replication rule, and then we're gonna verify the result on Harbor 2 instance. Okay, we're ready with the setup, so now we can go to the console and do some push and signings. So if we go to the console, and we can do docker login Cosign sign demo and Harbor 1 org. Okay, so we're in, and then I want to push image, this one, Harbor 1 Cosign demo pulse. So docker push 1. Okay, that will push the image to the registry. But when we open the artifact, it says Cosign, not sign. So next step will be to sign that image. To sign that image, we need to install Cosign on our machine. So if you navigate to GitHub /store Cosign, you can follow all the steps for your operating system and install Cosign. And then there are a few examples how you can sign images. So I'll skip the installation part and go straight to the process of signing. So as a first step, we have to create a key pair, public and private key, which will be used to sign the images. We sign with the private key, and we verify with the public key, who is going to be publicly available. So as a first step, we need to create the key pair. So I have already one created. I'm gonna just remove them. So Cosign generate key pair is gonna ask you for your passphrase for your keys. Okay, so we have the keys now. So as the next step, is going to be to sign the image. So cosign sign. Then you have to specify the key. Cosign key, and then you have to specify the image. We're interested in this one. So it's asking you for your passphrase. You can also export your passphrase to the console, and won't ask you for your passphrase, and you can use that for any automation later on. So with this one, I've pushed the image. If I go back to the UI, I refresh this one, and now the image is signed. So now if we go to our second Harbor instance, Cosign, and we have nothing in the Cosign project. So we go back to Harbor 1 instance, we go in replication, and we're gonna trigger that replication rule manually. Yes, I want to replicate. And now it will take a few seconds or a minute, yeah, to copy all the artifacts from our registry on Harbor instance 1 to Harbor instance 2. So we go to Harbor instance 2 and Cosign demo. Okay, we have the Cosign demo pose and 2 artifacts. So the 2 artifacts are our image and our signature. As you see, is Cosign signed. But if we dig in, it says signed by notary. It's not signed by notary. So that means we have the only the Cosign signature. Again, just to verify that, we're gonna go to the configuration for the project, and we have the Cosign policy. As a next step, I'm gonna just verify. Okay, and as a next step, we have to verify our signature. So Cosign verify key Cosign pop, and then we're gonna specify our image. In that case, it's first on Harbor 1 instance, and I'm gonna pipe it through JQ so we can see the output a bit more readable. So that's our digest, and that's practically the signature. If we change that to Harbor 2, we have to we should see the same signature. So if we do docker pull and let's grab this one. There we go. And docker images, docker images. Yep. So this one is the same as this one, and it has the same signature. So that's very basic demonstration of Cosign and how we can use it. All that can be wrapped up with some CI/CD process by building the images through Jenkins, for example, and pushing them to hardware to get the 3D scan, and then to decide if we want to promote these images or not. And then if we are happy with the results, then we can trigger the replication rule and to get them in the production hardware, and then get them distributed across our clusters. Thank you very much. I hope you find this helpful, and see you on the next one.